Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of the program. Now, Barb, many people selling a home have some very different ideas of the value of that home. Some believe that they should price it at the very top of the price range. Others want a quick sale, and others have no idea at all. So, Barb, how does a home seller price their home to negotiate the very best price?
Well, Richard, it really is a decision from the seller from the start. Most of the home sellers that I meet with will say, I'll ask them, when do you want to sell? What is your strategy? What's your vision of how you want this to happen? And some people have never sold a home before, others have. But I would say a majority of them want the most money. And that's great. We want to get you the most money, but how they go about doing that is not necessarily what you think. A lot of people think, well, should I price it high for negotiating room? And actually, that's can be a big mistake. It depends on the price range in general. As you get into the lower price ranges, some of those buyers, it's not in their budget, right, to go up in price and build out negotiating rooms. So they sometimes will not even go see the house if it's not in their budget. And buyers, in my view, are very savvy about market value. I have to tell you a story. I've put a couple of homes on the market where I know they were priced well below similar sales. Now, we did that for condition issues. The homes, one of them had structural problems. So it was priced $100,000 below similar sales. Now, I don't know if all the buyers knew it, but they probably knew more than the agents. They might have made some assumptions because it was a foreclosure. Oh, just because it's a foreclosure, it's a discount. Not necessarily. Generally, the distressed properties are priced what I call very realistically versus optimistically. However, this home was substantially different than other similar properties because it has structural problems. I had another one that had condition issues. I've had other properties that back to busy street. So there's a different price for homes that have those issues. And so you have to take in all of the factors and really look at it objectively when you decide where, and it is the seller's decision, by the way, to decide what the asking price is, and I'll joke with them and say, yeah, I'd love to get you $5 million for your house. That would be fun. However, the market is the market, and the buyers are going to choose the best buy that works for them. So you have to look at all the factors. Location, what's going on with the market? That is a factor when you're selling homes. If the prices are kind of softening, correcting like they are in the market right now, you can't be overpriced and build in negotiating room money because they won't come. They won't show up and look at the home because they assume that you're not going to negotiate with them. Age of the home sometimes is a factor, not always. Some older homes have been remodeled. They look fresh and new. Condition absolutely is a factor. Any improvements that you've done to a limit. So it's interesting that some people think some improvements will get them more money. Probably the one that I get into disputes with most often is the solar system. Now, I don't know what you think about this, Richard, but solar is kind of a cool idea. I like the idea of having a low or almost no electric bill over the course of owning the home. But the cost of the solar system generally is $25,000 to $50,000. And then at the end of that 25-year period, when you've gotten to offset that cost, guess what? There's new technology. You might have to replace all the panels and spend all the money again. So in some cases it works, some cases it doesn't. My husband and I and my son own a rental property out in 29 Palms. In that location, high desert, the average electric bill is $800 or $900 a month. So that makes sense. Okay. But maybe not in an area like this where, yeah, you don't really, generally the electric bills are pretty stable. So people think that when they put a solar system on their house, the buyers are going to pay more money for it. The buyers won't. They will say, okay, that's nice to have, but they don't pay more money for it. And yet the seller has to pay off the cost of the solar system if they've gotten a loan on it. So some improvements may not add value. Some are just, again, the buyer looks at it as nice to have, like a tankless water heater that might be under warranty for 10 years. Those kind of things don't really excite buyers. Typically, the ones that they might pay more money for are remodel cosmetic type updates, but there's a limit to that too. If you put in Corinthian leather and granite counters on a house that's worth 300,000, the buyers are going to go, that's nice, I'll buy it, but I'm not going to pay more because you have granite. So it really depends, right? And then a lot of people think that their home is worth what Zillow says it's worth on Zestimates. And I just did some research on this. I was really kind of surprised to read that Zillow gives a Zestimate not based on sales of homes, which is where the rubber meets the road, what buyers actually paid for homes. They're basing their Zestimate or their opinion of value on the current available homes for sale, right? So if most homes are not selling, or at least 2/3 of them are not selling, how could that be accurate, right? So you have to work with somebody that really knows how to help you do it right. And the market's going to figure it out right away. We have a home that we put on the market up in Florissant recently. It's on 4 acres. It's a pretty property. It's got a lot of cosmetic issues. The plumbing doesn't work, but it was priced very realistically. So we ended up getting 4 offers, and it's going to close this month for well over asking price. That's because the buyer saw the value, right? And actually a lower price commands higher dollar amount, in my view. You also can't always rely on what the neighbor's home sold for. What makes the neighbor's home more valuable than yours? Was it identical? How recently was the sale? An appraiser can only go back 1 year, but that doesn't mean in the current market conditions that the buyers are willing to pay that much right now. Square footage generally is what they call the gold standard for value. Generally, appraisers look for similar size and similar floor plan, plus or minus 20%. And they will take into account things like condition. Like I have a lot of appraisers ask me when we meet them to help the appraiser support the price that our contract has. They will ask, have there been any improvements done in the last 5 years? That's important to them because that tells me the house is being well maintained. So really, home value is not what the agent says it's worth, not what the seller says it's worth. It's what the market is willing to pay in general. So it's really important for a home seller to pick somebody that knows the market, that's actively selling in the market, that understands the trends, because the trends have a lot to do with what your strategy is to price the home right now in this current market. And not much of the sales data is up on Zillow. So it's always important to manage proper expectations about where you think a home will go. But the market's going to tell you immediately. If a home is priced too high, guess what? They're not coming. They won't show up. So you'll be able to tell by the market activity whether or not you priced it right. All sellers want the most money that they can get, and all buyers want to get the best home in their budget, right? And so there's a way to make that happen. And many sellers search in different increments, like 50 or 100,000. They're looking for the best deal. So in general, it depends on the situation. I just presented 8 offers to the seller. So obviously none of those buyers are going to get one of the buyers is going to get the house, which is the objective, but the other 7 buyers probably are not going to get a really good deal, because if they really wanted the house, they would have made their best offer. And one little tidbit that I want to recommend that I think is important is there are a lot of agents running around out there saying, oh, it's a buyer's market and lowball it and ask them for 15 or 20 or 30,000. I got one yesterday, $30,000. They wanted the seller to pay 30,000 of their closing costs. That's a lot of money. Okay. And it's because their agents are telling them the market's supposedly a buyer's market. Don't be offended. Go ahead and entertain that offer. Give them a counter that you will accept. And if you don't want to counter or if it doesn't work, that's fine. But just work with them. It could be that while you're dilly-dallying around, you'll get another offer and then you'll have a bidding war, which is really fun. So if you are thinking of making a move, we help home sellers all the time decide on pricing. And we've done really well at it. So give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. When we come back, we're going to talk about how to avoid those selling mistakes. And we'll talk a little bit about negotiations because they're really important. Richard.
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. She's the host of the program. You can reach her at 719-301-3900. So, Barb, what are some other things that a home seller can do to properly get their home sold in a reasonable time period?
Well, if you do get multiple offers, that means that you priced it right and there's more than one buyer at the same time interested in the home. Okay, that's a good thing. And be grateful when it happens, and then just do the best you can in making the decision on which one's the best for you. It's not necessarily the highest offer that might be the one that gets the house. It could be that maybe the one that's going to close sooner or the one that has the best financing. It could be all these things, and the seller has to make that decision. But multiple offers are definitely less common right now. And I struggle. I have fun with the agents. If I kind of hold them back and try to get the buyers to look at it all at the same time, they get mad at me. They'll call and complain and say, I'm not being ethical. I'm not letting them in when they want to get in. But, it's the strategy that the seller and I have decided on in advance that makes that happen. And just yesterday, I had the seller went over to check on a vacant property that they have on the market. And we had a lot of showings. We had a lot at the open house. They checked it after the open house. The next morning, there were a few more showings. And somebody actually came into the house with a food wrapper. I don't know if it's a piece of pizza or a sandwich. Okay. And left the food wrapper on the brand new carpet. Now, who does that? Right? You're not even supposed to litter outside. Isn't that against the law? I mean, humans can go without food for a month. They can't wait 10 minutes while they're looking at a house to eat. I mean, it's just unbelievable, the stuff that takes place. That's why I recommend to sellers to kind of limit, the period of when you're going to allow showings. And that way you make it work best for you. And that way you have the opportunity to check to make sure that they behave after showings. So that's part of the stuff that we help our sellers be aware of and expect to happen, because you're dealing with the public. You never know what's going to happen. Yes, they're going to litter the house. Yes, they're going to leave doors unlocked. Yes, they're going to leave lights on. Yes, they're going to leave the exact combo in the box so anybody could get in. They do all these things, right? And just be ready for it. And that's why I try to let them know that there's 6,300 agents. There's no training. There's no job description. So you want to be prepared for some of the surprises when you're letting other people come into your space. If you want to talk to us about what we do, we'll sit down and take a look at the home, give you tips on what to do to get the most money, show you all of our buyers, show up with cash offers, give you a really good idea what your home will sell for and how much you'll put in your pocket when it sells. Just give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. If you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. When we come back, we'll be discussing why would a buyer pay more than the asking price in this market. Barb's got that answer. Stay tuned.